What if I told you that everything you've been taught about building wealth might actually be destroying your financial future after you turn 50? Imagine this. You've diligently saved for decades, following all the traditional advice about aggressive growth and chasing returns, only to watch half your nest egg vanish in a market downturn just years before retirement. The financial strategies that served you well in your 30s and 40s could be the very same ones that devastate your golden years. Has this ever happened to you? Looking back at a financial decision that seemed reasonable at the time, only to realize years later it had massive consequences on your retirement plans. You're not alone. Countless investors make a critical mistake as they approach their 50s. They continue playing offense when they should be switching to defense. The hard truth is that time, once your greatest ally in wealth building, begins working against you after 50. Each year becomes exponentially more precious, and your runway for recovery shrinks dramatically. While a 30-year-old has 3 decades to bounce back from investment mistakes, a 60-year-old might have just 5 to 10 working years left, making the same financial setback not just inconvenient, but potentially catastrophic. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. What you're about to discover might completely transform how you think about wealth preservation in the second half of life. The financial media rarely discusses this profound shift that should occur in your investment strategy as you age. They keep pushing the narrative of chasing returns, finding the next Tesla, and taking bigger risks to catch up. If your savings aren't where you want them to be, consider the sobering math. A 50% investment loss at age 60 doesn't just mean you're down to half your savings. It means you're down to half, with potentially only a handful of earning years left to make up the difference. This isn't about being pessimistic. It's about clear-eyed realism regarding the fundamentally different recovery timeline you face compared to your younger self. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal a counterintuitive approach to securing your financial future that focuses not on maximizing returns at all costs, but on something far more crucial after 50: avoiding catastrophic losses. The wealthiest, most successful investors understand that durability and consistency become infinitely more valuable than spectacular returns as we age. The journey to financial security after 50 isn't about finding that needle in a haystack investment anymore. It's about something far more fundamental and accessible, a complete paradigm shift in how you approach risk, compounding, and the psychological aspects of wealth preservation. And the strategies I'm about to share with you might be the exact opposite of what your financial advisor has been telling you all these years. If you found value in these insights about building wealth after 50, hit that subscribe button and join our community of thoughtful investors. I'm dedicated to bringing you timeless financial wisdom that cuts through the noise of mainstream financial media. Together, we can approach wealth building with the clarity and discipline that Munger exemplified throughout his remarkable life. The hidden truth that most financial advisors won't tell you is that durability becomes far more valuable than spectacular returns as you age. Let me explain why. Imagine 2 investors. The first makes a consistent 7 to 9% year after year without much excitement, while the second alternates between exhilarating 30% gains and gut-wrenching 25% losses. Conventional wisdom might have you believe the second investor is more successful. After all, their peaks are certainly more impressive, but the math tells a different story. When you chart these 2 journeys over a decade, a remarkable revelation emerges. The steady, boring investor actually creates substantially more wealth. This isn't financial theory, it's mathematical certainty. Consistency and capital preservation create a foundation for compounding that dramatic volatility simply cannot match. Yet this fundamental principle remains largely overlooked in a financial culture obsessed with the spectacular. This profound mindset transformation represents one of the most important decisions you'll make in your wealth journey after 50. Rather than chasing returns at all costs, you begin prioritizing what I call sleep well at night investments, positions that won't leave you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. during market downturns. The impact of this shift cannot be overstated. I've witnessed countless investors experience a profound sense of relief when they finally release themselves from the exhausting pursuit of market-beating returns and embrace the power of sustainable, reliable growth. Behind the scenes of every financial catastrophe lies a common thread: the desperate attempt to recover from losses by taking even bigger risks. This vicious cycle typically begins with a single misguided belief that aggressive growth is the only path to financial security. The reality is that most retirement dreams are shattered not by insufficient returns, but by catastrophic losses that come from taking unnecessary risks. What's required is a complete transformation in how you think about risk and reward. Instead of FOMO, fear of missing out, which drives so many investors to chase speculative opportunities, you need to develop what I call FOBO, fear of blowing out. This isn't about becoming paralyzed with anxiety. It's about recognizing that protecting what you've already built becomes exponentially more important than capturing every potential gain. This psychological revelation runs counter to everything the financial media bombards you with daily. Their breathless coverage of the latest investment frenzy isn't designed to help you build wealth. It's designed to generate clicks, views, and engagement at the expense of your financial well-being. The moment you recognize this conflict of interest represents a turning point in your financial journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into the most destructive force in investment psychology, something that silently destroys more portfolios than almost any other factor. The shift from chasing returns to preserving capital isn't just a strategy. It's a complete reimagining of what financial success looks like after 50. If you've experienced this awakening in your own financial thinking, write "defense mode activated" in the comments below. The most profound revelation on your journey to financial security after 50 might be this: boring is beautiful. Our culture glorifies the exciting, the novel, the disruptive, but when it comes to preserving and growing wealth in the later stages of life, these qualities often lead directly to financial disaster. Behind every spectacular investment collapse lies a common pattern: excessive complexity, leverage, debt, or speculation, all the elements that make investing seem thrilling but dramatically increase your vulnerability to market shocks. Consider this paradox. The less thrilling your investment approach after 50, the more thrilling your retirement is likely to be. There's a certain poetic justice in the idea that financial excitement in your 60s, 70s, and beyond comes not from watching volatile investments swing wildly, but from having the freedom and security that comes with steady, reliable returns. The revelation that simplicity often outperforms complexity represents a fundamental mindset shift that few investors ever achieve. I've witnessed this awakening in countless investors, that moment when they realize sleeping well at night is actually worth more than the possibility of spectacular gains. This psychological breakthrough often leads to better decision-making and, ironically, better long-term performance. The journey toward embracing boring investments isn't about settling for mediocrity. It's about recognizing where true value lies at this stage of life. Now, let me address perhaps the most destructive force in investment: psychology, something Charlie Munger identified that silently destroys more portfolios than almost any other factor: envy. Munger called it the dumbest of the 7 deadly sins, for a brilliant reason. It's the only one that provides absolutely no pleasure in return. Think about that for a moment. Greed at least gives you momentary satisfaction. Gluttony offers temporary pleasure. But envy? It delivers nothing but misery. This revelation goes beyond finance into the realm of human psychology. Portfolios are rarely destroyed by an inability to earn. They're destroyed by the toxic comparison game that drives people to abandon sound strategies when they see others apparently getting rich quicker. The transformative impact of releasing yourself from the tyranny of comparison cannot be overstated. Your neighbor's investment returns have precisely zero impact on your ability to achieve your goals. I've seen this pattern repeat with tragic regularity. The neighbor buys a luxury car, the brother-in-law brags about a crypto windfall, and suddenly decades of disciplined investing seem inadequate. In these moments of weakness, sound financial foundations are abandoned for speculative gambles that often end in tears. The hidden truth is that financial independence isn't a competition. It's a personal journey with a single meaningful metric. Does your strategy provide the resources you need for the life you want? This envy factor becomes even more perilous as we age. What's merely unwise in our 30s becomes potentially catastrophic after 50. The reason is simple but profound: time horizon. When you're younger, an envious mistake might set you back a few years. After 50, that same decision can erase decades of patient compounding, leaving insufficient time for recovery. The mindset transformation that truly successful investors cultivate is almost Zen-like in its simplicity, a remarkable indifference to what others are doing. If you felt the liberation that comes from focusing solely on your own financial journey rather than comparing yourself to others, write envy-free investing in the comments. Now, I want to explore another profound shift that must occur in your investment thinking after 50. One that completely reframes how you approach ownership versus employment. The journey to genuine financial independence reveals a liberating truth. Your financial path is uniquely yours. Society constantly pushes us to view wealth as a competitive sport, where we must constantly measure our performance against others. This comparative mindset is more than just exhausting. It can be financially devastating after 50. The revelation that transforms your entire approach to money is realizing that your neighbor's investment returns, your colleague's retirement account balance, or your brother-in-law's latest crypto windfall have precisely zero impact on your ability to achieve your financial goals. This mental freedom represents one of the most profound transformations on your wealth-building journey, when you truly internalize that the only score that matters is whether your strategy provides the resources you need for the life you want. Something remarkable happens. The anxiety that comes from constant comparison dissolves, and in its place emerges clarity about what actually matters. Building a financial foundation that supports your unique vision of a fulfilling life. I've witnessed the power of this mindset shift firsthand. One client, a successful physician in his mid-50s, had spent decades silently comparing his financial progress to his peers. Every investment decision was clouded by thoughts of what others might be doing better. The breakthrough came when he finally recognized that financial independence isn't about outperforming anyone. It's about having enough. This revelation didn't just reduce his stress. It fundamentally improved his decision-making by allowing him to focus exclusively on what served his specific goals, rather than chasing performance for its own sake. Now let me share another counterintuitive truth that Munger discovered through decades of investing experience. What I call the holding paradox. When you discover a truly exceptional business with strong fundamentals, the winning strategy is breathtakingly simple. Just hold it. Don't overthink it. Don't try to time the market. Don't worry about short-term fluctuations. Just hold. Yet the psychology behind this wisdom reveals a fascinating paradox of human nature. We tend to do exactly the opposite of what serves our financial interests, selling winners too early to lock in gains while stubbornly clinging to losers, hoping they'll recover. This behavioral pattern is so consistent, it might as well be hardwired into our DNA. The hidden truth is that our natural instincts actively work against our financial success, particularly after 50, when recovery time is limited. Munger himself acknowledged with characteristic bluntness that one of his biggest financial mistakes was selling great businesses too soon. The impact of these premature exits compounds over time into staggering opportunity costs. Behind every "if I had just held on to that Apple stock" story lies this fundamental human tendency to act precisely when patience would serve us better. The transformation comes when you recognize that your instincts around selling and holding are likely backward. Psychological research consistently shows that we feel losses roughly twice as intensely as equivalent gains, a cognitive bias that drives us to sell winners prematurely, to lock in gains, while holding losers indefinitely to avoid confirming the loss. After 50, becoming aware of these unconscious patterns allows you to consciously counteract them. If you've ever experienced the regret of selling a great investment too soon, type "diamond hands" in the comments to acknowledge this common investing pitfall that even legends like Munger struggled with. Now I want to explore a crucial insight about certainty and accuracy that directly impacts how you should evaluate financial advice after 50. One of the most counterintuitive truths that Munger discovered through decades of market observation reveals a profound insight about financial advice. The relationship between certainty and accuracy is often inverse. In other words, the louder someone proclaims their market predictions, the more likely they are to be catastrophically wrong. This revelation challenges the very foundation of how most people consume financial information in their later years. Think about the pundits and experts you see on financial networks or read in investment newsletters. The ones who speak with unwavering confidence about exactly where interest rates will be next year, precisely which sectors will outperform, or definitively which currencies will strengthen. Behind the scenes of this financial theater lies a brutal reality. Throughout market history, those who sounded most certain were consistently the ones who lost the most money, both for themselves and their followers. The wisdom here transcends investing and touches on a fundamental truth about human knowledge. The world is simply too complex, too interconnected, and too unpredictable for any single mind to fully comprehend. The genuine masters of any domain, whether finance, science, or philosophy, are precisely those who have the deepest appreciation for the limits of their understanding. This insight becomes increasingly valuable as you age, when the cost of following misplaced certainty grows exponentially. The transformation that must occur in your financial journey after 50 isn't about becoming more knowledgeable. It's about becoming more humble. Successful investing isn't about being a know-it-all. It's about the opposite, recognizing what you don't understand and having the discipline to avoid those areas entirely. This intellectual honesty creates a boundary around your financial decisions, keeping you safely within your circle of competence. The revelation here is that 3 simple words, "I don't know," become a superpower when applied to investment decisions. These words, so difficult for many successful people to utter, create a force field against the financial disasters that often befall those who believe they must have an opinion on everything. By acknowledging the limits of your understanding, you naturally avoid betting on nonsense and stick to areas where you can make reasonable judgments. Berkshire Hathaway's investment approach exemplifies this principle perfectly. They understood insurance, so they bought insurance companies. They understood consumer brands like Coca-Cola and See's candies, so they bought them. And critically, they simply ignored industries they didn't understand, regardless of how trendy or promising they appeared to others. This selective approach saved them from countless disasters over the decades. During the dot-com bubble, they avoided technology stocks not because they thought they were overvalued, though they were, but because Buffett and Munger didn't understand them well enough. They received mockery at the time for missing the opportunity of a lifetime, until the bubble burst and their patience was vindicated. The hidden truth goes beyond simply avoiding losses. It's about the freedom that comes with abandoning the exhausting pretense of omniscience. The weight lifted. When you no longer feel compelled to have an opinion on everything, from Bitcoin to biotech, from interest rates to international politics, creates mental space for deeper thinking in areas where you actually possess insight. Have you experienced the relief that comes from saying, "I don't know," instead of pretending to understand something complex? Type intellectual honesty in the comments if you felt this liberating shift in your own approach to investing or life decisions. Now, let's explore another profound mindset transformation that completely reframes how you think about your relationship with money and work after 50. The most profound transformation on your wealth-building journey after 50 isn't about finding better investments. It's about completely reimagining your relationship with money and work. This revolution from employee thinking to owner thinking may sound subtle, but it represents one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can undergo on your path to financial independence. Most people, even highly educated, successful professionals, spend their entire lives trapped in employee thinking. They optimize for promotions, prestigious titles, corner offices, and perks. They measure success by salary increases and status symbols. There's nothing inherently wrong with career advancement, but Munger points out a brutal truth that few ever fully grasp. Titles don't compound. Ownership does. This revelation illuminates the fundamental difference between these two approaches. Employees focus on looking important and climbing hierarchies. Owners focus on possessing things that generate cash while they sleep. An employee asks, "How do I please my boss?" An owner asks, "Does this make money long term?" Only one of these questions leads to durable wealth. I've witnessed this breakthrough moment for countless professionals, doctors, lawyers, executives, who suddenly realize they've been playing the wrong game. Despite decades of six-figure incomes, many find themselves with impressive job titles but minimal assets that work independently of their time and effort. They've been running on an increasingly sophisticated treadmill, but a treadmill nonetheless. The awakening often comes with a startling realization. Even high-income professionals are just a few missed paychecks away from financial pressure if they haven't developed ownership mindsets alongside their careers. This vulnerability becomes increasingly dangerous after 50, when recovery options narrow dramatically. The ownership revolution that Munger describes isn't about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about redirecting your energy and capital toward assets that outlast your active working years. It's about asking a deceptively simple question: do you own anything that works for you when you're not working? This inquiry cuts to the heart of financial independence. Now, let me share another crucial insight from Munger that directly impacts how you should approach financial planning after 50. Born in 1924, Munger witnessed firsthand an economic catastrophe that most of us only read about in history books: the Great Depression. This living memory imprinted a perspective that shaped his entire investment philosophy. Prosperity is not the default setting of economic life. This revelation cuts against the grain of modern financial thinking. We tend to view recessions as temporary aberrations in an otherwise upward trajectory. Munger saw something different, a natural pendulum that swings between feast and famine throughout history. This historical awareness creates a profound transformation in risk assessment, particularly valuable after 50 when recovery options diminish. When you truly internalize that economic conditions fluctuate cyclically and sometimes severely, blind optimism becomes not just naive, but potentially fatal to your financial health. This doesn't mean becoming pessimistic. It means developing a realistic appreciation for the full range of possible economic scenarios and preparing accordingly. Has this distinction between employee thinking and owner thinking created an aha moment for you? Type ownership mindset in the comments if you've been contemplating this crucial transformation in your own financial journey. Now I want to explore Munger's most distilled wisdom, what he described as the critical habits that protected his wealth more than any brilliant investment move. With characteristic bluntness, Munger reduced his success formula to 3 simple subtractions that protected his wealth more than any brilliant investment move ever could: avoiding debt, avoiding drama, and avoiding dumb people. The power in this framework lies in its emphasis on prevention rather than action, a concept that becomes increasingly valuable after 50, when the margin for error shrinks dramatically. Debt acts as a magnifier of mistakes, transforming recoverable errors into financial catastrophes. Drama wastes precious mental energy that could otherwise be directed toward clear thinking and rational decision-making. And dumb people, by which Munger means those who are reckless, dishonest, unreliable, or addicted to shortcuts, create a form of social contagion that inevitably affects your own judgment. What's remarkable about this triad is how it contradicts conventional wisdom about wealth building. Most financial advice focuses obsessively on what to do, which stocks to buy, which strategies to employ, which opportunities to seize. Munger's approach inverts this completely, suggesting that what you don't do matters far more than what you do. This revelation creates a decision framework based on subtraction rather than addition, on removing negative influences rather than constantly seeking positive ones. The hidden truth here cuts against our natural instincts. We're hardwired to pursue gains, to hunt for the next big winner, the next Tesla, the next Bitcoin. But Munger's journey revealed that after 50, this pursuit often leads directly to financial ruin. The breakthrough comes when you realize you don't need to double your money overnight. You need to avoid blowing yourself up. This shift in priority creates an entirely different decision framework. Keep investments simple and understandable. If you can't explain it to a reasonably intelligent teenager, it's probably too complex for your portfolio. Preserve capital as a first priority. Every dollar you lose after 50 costs far more than the same dollar lost at 30, simply because you have less time for recovery. Now, let me reveal another critical revelation about the mathematical reality that governs all financial outcomes. A truth so fundamental that most people overlook it entirely. The power of steady compounding becomes astonishingly powerful over 15+ years. A reliable 7% return, consistently achieved and reinvested, doubles your money approximately every decade. This means that with just 15 years of patience, your capital can grow by 2.8 times without taking extraordinary risks. By focusing on the marathon rather than the sprint, you allow the miracle of compounding to do the heavy lifting. This mathematical reality reveals something profound about wealth building after 50. The frantic pursuit of spectacular returns often leads to precisely the kind of catastrophic mistakes that destroy capital. Meanwhile, the patient investor who achieves reasonable, consistent returns ends up substantially wealthier simply by avoiding those errors and letting time work its magic. The transformation happens when you shift your focus from the daily noise of market movements to the powerful long-term trend of compound growth. This perspective shift creates a remarkable sense of calm. The daily financial headlines become less urgent, the market's short-term gyrations less concerning. You develop the emotional resilience to stay the course when others panic because you understand the underlying mathematical reality. If these preventative measures, avoiding debt drama and harmful associations, have protected your wealth more effectively than chasing returns, drop a protection mindset in the comments. Now I want to address what might be Munger's most fundamental insight, one so simple it's often overlooked, yet so powerful it underpins everything else. The mathematical reality that governs all financial outcomes is brutally straightforward. If you don't spend less than you earn, no investment strategy on earth can save you. This truth transcends sophistication, education, and income level. People with seven-figure salaries routinely end up broke in retirement because they consistently live beyond their means. Meanwhile, modest earners with disciplined spending habits often retire in comfort because they understood and respected this fundamental arithmetic. Munger's observation illuminates a profound disconnect in financial education. We obsess over investment returns, asset allocation, and market timing, while often ignoring the behavioral foundation that makes wealth accumulation possible in the first place. The journey to financial independence begins not with clever stock picking, but with the radical act of living below your means consistently and without exception. The transformation happens when you realize that every dollar not spent becomes a soldier in your financial army, working tirelessly to produce more dollars through investment returns. This compounding effect creates a virtuous cycle that accelerates over time, but it cannot begin without the discipline to resist unnecessary consumption. The math is unforgiving. Someone who earns $250,000 but spends $260,000 is getting poorer regardless of their sophisticated investment strategy. Someone who earns $60,000 but consistently invests $12,000 will inevitably build wealth over time. This revelation often comes as an uncomfortable awakening, especially for high-income professionals who've grown accustomed to lifestyle inflation. The realization that impressive salaries don't automatically translate to financial security can be jarring. Yet this moment of truth often catalyzes the most important financial transformation of all, the shift from consumption-focused to savings-focused living. Now, I want to explore what might be the most profound insight about building wealth after 50. The greatest obstacles aren't technical, but psychological. The battle isn't fought primarily in the marketplace, but in the mirror. The principles that lead to financial security aren't complicated or mysterious. They require something far more challenging: the emotional discipline to follow common-sense guidelines even when everyone around you is doing the opposite. This insight reveals perhaps the most profound truth of all about wealth building after 50. The journey to financial independence isn't about financial acrobatics or chasing the next big thing. It's about patience, discipline, and avoiding catastrophic mistakes. It's about embracing simplicity when others chase complexity. It's about focusing on durability rather than spectacular returns. These principles may sound simple, and intellectually they are, but implementing them consistently in the face of market volatility, peer pressure, and our own psychological weaknesses, that's anything but easy. This distinction between simple and easy lies at the heart of Munger's philosophy. The principles aren't complicated or mysterious. They don't require advanced degrees or sophisticated financial instruments. They require something far more challenging: the emotional discipline to follow common sense when everyone around you is doing the opposite. If you've recognized this fundamental truth in your own financial journey, that the greatest battle is fought within yourself rather than in the marketplace, type "mirror battle" in the comments. The Wisdom Munger creates a framework for financial security that transcends market cycles and economic conditions. As we reflect on Munger's legacy, I'm struck by how counterintuitive, yet profoundly simple, his wisdom really is. The journey to financial security after 50 isn't about financial acrobatics or chasing the next big thing. It's about patience, discipline, and avoiding the catastrophic mistakes that can derail decades of effort. These principles create a framework that works not just in bull markets or bear markets, but across all markets and all conditions. If something in this conversation resonated with you today, perhaps it was the shift from offense to defense, the power of avoiding catastrophic losses, or the realization that the battle is fought in the mirror rather than the marketplace. I'd love to hear about it. Type Munger's wisdom in the comments if you recognized yourself or your own financial journey somewhere in this discussion. I believe we're building something valuable here. A space where we can explore these transformative ideas together, away from the noise and hype of mainstream financial media. If you found value in these insights and want to continue exploring this approach to wealth building, hit that subscribe button. Each week, we dive deep into principles that stand the test of time, rather than chasing the latest fad. And if this conversation helped clarify your thinking about wealth after 50, that gentle tap on the like button tells me I'm creating content that matters to you. I've prepared another video that explores how to actually implement some of these principles in today's market environment. It's the perfect companion to what we've discussed today. Click right here and let's continue the conversation. After all, as Munger himself might say, the journey to financial wisdom isn't a sprint. It's a lifelong marathon, best run with good company.